We are Tottenham TV, back here for yet another update, and for all the Timo Werner fury yesterday, I think it's all calmed down a little bit today, but social media was ablaze yesterday with opinions about Timo Werner, some positive, some negative. But we did get the official announcement from Tottenham yesterday. We are delighted to announce an agreement for Timo Werner to rejoin us on loan from RB Leipzig for the 24-25 season, with an option to make the deal permanent, which I believe is less than what it was, $8.5 million, I believe.
Very cheap.
Very cheap deal. He will be going into the last year of his contract, won't he? So I thought, let's go and have a look at the announcement that Spurs put out. This is what they put out on Twitter. Or X, as you call it now. Pretty much.
It's Timo time. Do you reckon they redid it, or do you reckon this is the same video?
I think it's the same video, just with some highlights put in there.
Yeah. So very exciting for Timo. Can't wait for him to be part of the team. I'm sure all the players are looking forward to it.
It's not what you were saying yesterday.
Well, Timo, what I find interesting about this deal, actually, I was thinking about it yesterday.
Yeah, I think we were all thinking about it last night.
Yeah, and if this is a loan deal, right? So that means they've renegotiated the actual deal, and the what do you call it? The deadline wasn't actually necessary in the end, because we renegotiated the deal anyway. So we didn't need that deadline. So if the deadline wasn't necessary, why rush into this deal on May 28th? Why not wait a bit and see what other offers present itself, which is what we were kind of told, not by the club, I guess, but by reportedly, that's what they were planning on doing. So, for me, the fact that they have renegotiated this deal and rushed into it, regardless of any deadline, tells me that this is something they've been planning for a while, and definitely something that Ange wanted as well. I don't think they rushed into this deal if Ange wasn't 100% on board with it or wanted it. So I think the timing is definitely significant for me. Yeah,
I totally agree. And I think we alluded to it yesterday when we spoke about it, saying it's a surprise that it's come so early when they had so much time to do a deal for Timo. And Plettenberg did say yesterday that Ange Postecoglou was keen to keep Timo. The forward was mutually eager to remain at Tottenham as well. So
no, but the fact that we negotiated, it means they could have gone beyond the deadline.
Yeah, they could have.
They could have waited, till the end
of June. But we even mentioned at the end of...
And he's not going to Euros as well. So
we even mentioned at the end of last season, right, like this deadline doesn't really mean much, because even if the deadline surpasses, a deal can still be done. Mm-hmm. So I thought the deadline was nonsense anyway.
Well, I don't think it's complete nonsense, because if we're looking to sign him permanently and we want to, take up that option to buy, obviously that's when the deadline for that specific deal is. But clearly, we wanted another loan deal. So I don't understand why we've done it so early.
I read last night, I can't remember which journalist it was from, saying that Spurs were actually keen to do a permanent deal, but because of the injury, they swayed more towards a loan deal.
I see. The injury to Werner, you mean?
Yeah.
And so is he out for long?
I don't know how long he's out for. There's no time frame on it at the moment.
See. Maybe, okay, so he got injured, so why was that affecting? Just because we're not as certain on him because of the injury? Maybe he wanted a few more games to prove himself?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. But look, I've been thinking about it a lot. Obviously, I was really frustrated yesterday with the Timo deal. And I still am frustrated in terms of quality. But I think the point stands that what we said yesterday, if we do bring in players that can play in that role in the striking position, right wing, left wing, if we do bring in a minimum of 2 players to kind of refresh that front line, I'm not going to be bothered too much about it, because I think Timo, I think there is value in Timo, especially having him on the bench and bringing him on late in games against tired defences with his pace to really go at them. So I don't think it's as tragic and as bad as maybe we alluded to yesterday, and maybe the social media hype about it. But it's just frustrating, isn't it, when you're going to a new season fresh, Ange says there's going to be so many changes and stuff like that, and then the first signing through the door is Timo on loan.
Yeah, it just smacks of what we've seen before. But I think time will tell, not necessarily on Timo himself, whether it's a good deal, but on the other business that we do, whether this piece of business is a smart piece of business, should beef up the squad and give us another option, or is it another sign of Tottenham lacking ambition and just going for the cheap option and relying on a player that we know is not good enough to start games, essentially, more often than not. So I do think there's 2 ways of looking at it, but seeing as we're still at the end of May, it's hard to judge this deal. But again, as we say, if we come to the end of August and Timo is clearly signed in line of being one of our main attackers, then we've got a problem.
Yeah. And I just have to believe at this stage he's not. He can't be, surely, when Ange is talking about the amount of changes that he wants to make, when he talks about refreshing the front line time and time again. Surely we can't be sitting here and led to believe that this guy is going to be our main attacking option, attacking signing.
Can't be. I mean, he's not the guy to lead us forward. We know that. He could be a good squad player. He's been a good squad player before. He won the Champions League with Chelsea as being a squad player. Like he can be a good squad player, but if you're looking to close the gap on the top three, and you're looking at our best front three and Werner's in it, then you've got a problem.
Who could be the guy though? Mr. Mikey Moore, my friend. I'm saying Mikey Moore, I've been banging on about it, not just into the WhatsApp group, but a few people. And I really feel like this Timo deal on loan could actually create a pathway for Mikey Moore.
I hope so. We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, he's still very young. So.
He'll be 17 going into the new season. You look at Lewis Miley, he's broken through at Newcastle because of injuries and, been really good. You look at Cesc Fabregas, when he broke into the Arsenal team, he was starting at 17. If you're good enough, you're old enough.
You're 16.
Yeah. So
no,
if he's actually good enough...
We have to see. I mean, if he's good enough, I'm delighted. But you don't want to you'll put all the pressure on a 16.
But that's what I'm saying. It does alleviate the pressure a bit because you got Son there, you got Timo there.
So you're saying you don't mind if you don't
signing.
sign anyone then? Play Mikey Moore?
Well, I want a striker and I want someone that can play right wing and left wing as well. But I actually genuinely believe that Mikey Moore can break in this season. I really believe that.
Is he a left winger?
Yeah.
Like, I thought he was central as well.
He's predominantly a left winger.
Okay, so we'll see. Look, I'll be delighted if Mikey Moore's good enough. Clearly, he's smashing it out at youth level, but he's not the first player to do that, so we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Fabrizio Romano did say as well that despite signing Timo Werner on loan, Tottenham are still looking at additional options on the winger position and a striker position. There will be other movement in the offensive positions for Tottenham, so that's positive at least.
Definitely.
Next up, let's talk about this Richarlison statement yesterday. He took to social media to bat away all the comments that have been made on social media over the past month, and he says, I left my vacation to come back to Brazil to work ahead of the new season. Regarding what's been said in the media the last few days, it's fake news. I will not leave England ahead of next season. However, he didn't say he won't leave Spurs.
True, but I can't see him.
No, I'm joking.
You never know. Maybe Everton are going to come back in for him. But if they don't really have the money. Well, I think that is quite a significant statement because there are rumours flying around that he would be interested in a move to Saudi and Saudi teams might be coming in for him, and there was a lot of noise about Richarlison leaving this summer. So the fact that he's felt the need to put out the statement, look, if there was any truth to him, being open to a move, then he wouldn't have put out this statement. That's the truth. So the fact that he's come out and made things crystal clear, he's going to be staying in England anyway or at Tottenham this season, I think is quite a significant step. But it does mean that if he was to leave, then it wouldn't be because he wants to. It would be because we're kind of pushing him out kind of thing. So that makes it a lot less likely, I would say, that he's leaving, which I'm not obviously that unhappy about. I just hope that it's just going to be interesting to see where that leaves our front line, because there are rumours that we'd be open to a bid for Richarlison this summer. Now Werner's obviously signed already for another season. So already we've got Richarlison and Werner as part of the front line, where last season, when Ange is saying, right, last season, we need change in the front line. The front line is where we need to upgrade, right? Then you look at our front line, you look at Richarlison and Werner, as much as they're good players, those are two obvious players where you're like, they're upgradable, right? Those are the ones that stick out. You're like, those two can be upgraded. Mm-hmm. And yet now it's very likely that those two are going to be here next season. So all of a sudden, it's becoming a bit more of a question, where are we going to sign these players to upgrade? Who's going to be the fall guys? Who's going to be sold, essentially? And you're running out of options.
Yeah, I do question where they see Kulusevski as well moving on to next season. Do they see him, in the last few games and in the postseason friendly, they played him as a number 9. We've seen him deployed in the middle of the park where he thinks he's best as well. I don't think he's suited to that right wing role, so I would prefer... I don't know if they consider Kulusevski a winger. I really don't. I know that's where he's played predominantly his time at Tottenham. But under Ange Postecoglou, I feel like we might be moving him a bit more central, whether it be number 9, number 10 or number 8, which leaves another spot on the wing positions. The way I'm looking at it, left wing, you're going to have Heung-min Son, Timo Werner, potentially Mikey Moore as well. In the number 9, you're going to have Richarlison, Kulusevski, which I think Kulusevski can be a very versatile player, so you can bring in another one there in the number 9. And in the right wing, that just leaves Brennan Johnson. So you need to bring in another right winger as well. So that still leaves space for 2, in my opinion.
That's fair enough. Depends where we see. Yeah, it depends where we see Decky. Do we see him as a kind of player who can play on the right? And also, are we going to see him as a number 9 next season? I think that's a big question mark, just based off one game, albeit he did score 2 goals, so it was very impressive. Are we going to see him as more of a central player, or is he going to be a player who's going to be predominantly playing out wide? I guess we'll learn in pre-season what exactly we're thinking on that. But look, I think Richarlison is a player who we know can score goals in the Premier League. He got 11 goals last season. He's regularly got over double figures for Everton when he was in the Premier League for them. Obviously, for Brazil, he's got quite a decent scoring record as well. So we know there's a good player there. Obviously, he has his deficiencies. But when it comes to having a player we know can score goals in the Premier League, they don't come that easy. So you've got to be very careful when you're letting one go, when you have one. So if we bring in another striker and having competing with Richarlison, I think that's a good position to be in. Yeah,
look, I've said in the past that I'd be happy to see Richarlison go, but I've also said that I'd happy to see Richarlison stay at the club. I like Richarlison. I like his mentality. I like that he's definitely grown this season on last season. So if he stays, it's not a problem to me. What's the problem to me if that halts us bringing someone in? That's when it becomes a problem, which in this current time, I don't think it will. So we'll see what happens. Let's talk about Bryan Gil now. Vamos Mi Sevilla say that Sevilla want to sign Bryan Gil on loan with a purchase obligation for €6 million. I don't see that being too much of a problem for Spurs, but are you really telling me that we bought Bryan Gil for 25 million plus Lamela? Lamela's gone for Sevilla for all this time. His contract's just run out. He's leaving on a Bosman. And now we're just going to sell them back at Bryan Gil for $6 million.
So replacing Lamela with Bryan Gil.
It's ridiculous.
Great deal for Sevilla. Brilliant. They've absolutely played a blinder here. So, look, for us, we know Bryan Gil needs to leave. For Bryan Gil, he needs to leave for himself. Sevilla need a replacement for Lamela. They know Bryan Gil very well. Obviously, he was part of the Europa League winning team last year. And obviously, he came through the Sevilla Academy. So it all makes sense, and I think this probably will happen. And I also think that Tottenham are going to have to accept a major loss, and that's just the nature of the deal we've done. It's been a flop.
Get Lamela back on a free?
Yeah, why not? Get him in. Bit of shithousery. Back up to, I don't know where you would play these days. Play him on the right wing. Back up to Brennan. Let's do it.
That would just be so. Would that just not be so Tottenham if we did that?
Just for the North London derby, get him on a one game contract.
Oh god. Next up, let's talk about Luka Vuskovic. Obviously, had a brilliant season out in Poland. That league has finished now, and I saw replies to his tweet saying thank you for his time in Poland, and all the comments from all his fans out in Poland were just gobsmacked. Actually, I think it was actually a fake account that sent out this tweet, but there was still a lot of fans from Poland replying to it, being like, wow, you were unbelievable, thinking it was the real Luka Vuskovic. But anyway, Luka Vuskovic needs to collect more GBE points to be allowed to play in England, and there is therefore expected to be loaned out to a club in Netherlands or Belgium. So it'll be really interesting to see him move up the kind of category of leaves from Poland to a Belgium or a Netherlands, which is obviously a bigger league in stature.
Is that a Brexit thing? I'm guessing that he needs more points.
He needs it for the work permit and visa to come and work in England.
Sounds like a Brexit thing, for God's sake. Anyway, I think a Belgium or a Netherlands move would be brilliant. Obviously, I think Holland is a bit of a higher level, so I'd really like to see him get tested at a Dutch club. I think you've seen how good it's done Troy Parrott going out there. So he's absolutely killed it out in Poland. I've been very, very impressed by the reports I've seen at such a young age, the amount of impact he's had on that team, and not just from a defensive point of view, but also, going forward, he gets involved in goals. He's not shy. You saw that clip of him in the dressing room after one of the games, leading the chants, leading the team. Seems like a born leader from a young age as well. Also, such amazing physical stature for such a young player. So I'm really excited about him. Obviously, he's still very young, so he's got a long way to go. But if he can get a loan deal into the Netherlands, then he's coming into our first team in 2025. I mean, wow. Then all of a sudden you got him, maybe Phillips out another year, then you know Van der Ven is going to be going into his prime. You've got Dragoshin getting into his prime. I mean, what options we're going to have at centre back?
Yeah, someone's going to have to be the full guy. There's too many centre backs there. But when you're looking at the
player back three, all in.
When you're looking at the future of Tottenham Hotspur and all these players coming through, you've got Bergvall, who looks to have amazing leadership ability about him as well. Vuskovic, Mikey Moore, Ashley Phillips, Alfie Devine. You've got so many players coming through at the moment. The future just looks so good at Spurs. It's just like, it always seems as though it's always years down the line, but it might not be too far down the line.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think at this point, when you're talking about how we've been conducting ourselves in the window over the past few years, and also treating the youth levels and youth players and getting all these great talent in, like Udogie and San, and you know Vuskovic and a lot of all these talents, you know, you need to be patient to come for it all to come to fruition. And I know we're all desperate for it to be now and want to win trophies now, but if you can see what we're trying to do, it might take a bit of time, but clearly the talent is there, and obviously it's not going to be there straight away, but once they fulfill their potential, I mean, who knows where we could be in a couple of years' time.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about potential incoming. Murillo of Nottingham Forest, the Athletic, claim that Tottenham have monitored the progress of Nottingham Forest defender Murillo this season, along with Atletico Madrid, Chelsea, Real Madrid and Barcelona ahead of the upcoming transfer window. We know that Nottingham Forest need to sell before the 30th of June, and we know that if they don't, they face a potential another points deduction for next season. So when you're looking at the Nottingham Forest players that we can, obviously we've been linked with Hudson-Odoi, we've linked in Gibbs-White, and now we've been linked with Murillo. And I actually feel like when you're looking at those three options, I think I would prefer Murillo over all three of them.
Well, he's one we definitely need in terms of just an extra body at centre-back. With the European games coming next season, we need another left centre-back to back up to Van der Ven. He's obviously been exciting for Forest, although defensively they haven't been the best, but he's clearly a very confident centre-back. He's a player who's 21 years of age, yet he plays like a player who's a lot older, a lot more mature. And I'd like to see him develop at Tottenham. I think he could really suit the way we play. The bravery that he has, I think, could really suit us. But he is a bit rash, I think, and he does need to rein himself in. But he's very strong. He's very quick. Technically, he's quite good at carrying the ball. He's got a decent shot on him. I'm not 100% sure on his passing ability, but I know the other facets are quite good. So he's quite an exciting player. Would I rather him than Gibbs-White? I mean, how much would Murillo be? I mean, I think they signed him for, 15 million, 20 million? I think they signed him for. So they'll probably want at least 30, I'm guessing, between 30 and 35.
I mean, they might have to take what they can get, to be honest. They signed him for 12.
12, so yeah.
12 euros, that is.
So they're probably going to
12 million euros.
So they're probably going to want a profit on him. You're probably looking at 30.
I reckon you could 35. Probably get him for 20 with a bit of Daniel Levy negotiation.
I don't think you'd be able to get him for 20.
I mean, they're going to face a points deduction if they don't sell.
Depends. It depends how much it's worth it. Get him it doesn't, because 20 million might not be enough to get over the line. So if there's not enough, there's no point in selling.
Yeah, but they could sell him for 20 and then someone else for a bit cheaper. That's not a main player. And that can take them to the total. Like, I think they're going to be forced to sell.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean they sell for anything.
Not anything. I'm not saying 5, 10, 15 million. The 20 million is still making profit.
Yeah, I don't think they would. I think they still got a fee that they'll have to get. Look, 20 million's too cheap, I think. I don't think they'll sell for him. I think it would have to be at least 30, I would assume.
Even at 30 million, I think represents good value. And if you go into next season with Murillo, Van der Ven, Dragoshin and Romero, that is really good options moving forward. Really
and
is.
Also really good for the future. All very young, apart from Romero, who would be the oldest at 25.
Yeah. Let's talk about these James Maddison quotes. Obviously, James put on a golf day yesterday in aid of Noah's Ark Hospice. It was covered by Talk Sport and Sky Sports, where he did interviews with. And he did an interview, stating how excited he is for the coming season. He says, "I'm experienced now. I've played under a lot of managers. I've seen a lot of things, and Ange Postecoglou is taking the club in the right direction. Believe me, it's an exciting future ahead for Tottenham. He's very demanding and has high standards. He's He's won everywhere he's been. So when you have a man like that in charge, it's refreshing as players because you can trust him and go along with him, and hopefully success will be just around the corner. The message after the friendly in Australia was that we've had a transitional year and a lot of positives on the pitch, and we need to kick on now and have a good summer, a good transfer window, and then be challenging even more next year. And those are the words you kind of want to hear, isn't it?
It's interesting to hear him say about the transfer window, though, isn't it? Because you don't usually see players saying that. That's usually like the management and fans talking about that, because players usually... I know players want improvements in the squad, but when it comes to publicly, like, they don't want to be seen to saying the players we have right now aren't good enough and we need better players, kind of. So it's interesting to hear him say we need a better transfer window, implying that we need better players in the team. But obviously he's going to be... he's always been very, very positive about the team. I think he was at this charity event where he met Tom Holland as well. I saw a video of that.
It was he put it on.
Maddison put it on. I didn't know that. That's because there was a lot of people there, wasn't there? A lot of famous people there.
Yeah, he put it. It was his. He's put it on every. Last year was the first one. This is the second one, and every year he raises money for a different charity, and this time was Noah's Ark Hospice.
Fantastic. That's really great. That shows the character of Maddison as well, who seems to have really matured since obviously he became a father. He said how that changed him and stuff like that. So when he says, he's experienced now and he's seen a lot, I was trying to remember what managers he's been under, because obviously the only real main big club he's been at is Leicester. Other than that, because he was at Coventry and Norwich, but they were in the Championship when he was there. So he was at Leicester under Brendan. Did he play under anyone else but Brendan?
At Leicester, I can't really remember off the top of my head, to be fair.
Because he was there last year. Who was manager last year? Well, yeah, Rodgers was manager. No, yeah. Well, then when they got relegated, it was Rodgers. Yeah. So that's really the only real experience he has, isn't it? Just Brendan Rodgers.
In the Premier League, yeah.
Obviously they did very well. He won the FA Cup and stuff. But when it comes to him having experience of being a real winning team, doesn't have too much of that, I would say.
Yeah, when you say winning team, I mean Leicester have won a lot more than Spurs over the last 30 years. But
what I'm saying, winning team, big trophies.
Yeah, he hasn't been there. He wasn't there when they won the league, was he? He was nowhere near there. So he's won the FA Cup. I think he's an experienced player, is not as just his club football, but he's been in and around the England squad for a number of years now as well. And he gets to mix it with those kind of players. Maybe that mentality kind of can rub off you if you're in that sort of camp. But yeah, I feel like he speaks like he's more experienced than he actually is.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But anyway.
And it's what you were saying back on the transfers and players speaking about it. We have heard like Spurs players speak like that in the past, maybe not before a transfer window, but definitely after a transfer window, where the Pochettino team used to say like, oh, we felt we always needed like a few more extra signings to take us to the next level. So players definitely think like that.
I'm sure they think like that, but it's publicly while they're playing. I don't think, apart from Danny Rose, I don't think we heard any player speak publicly about wanting better players around them while they're at the team.
While they're at the team, yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying while they're in it. Yeah, while they're there. So it's kind of interesting to hear him mention that.
Yeah, I feel it's just refreshing and honest, to be honest.
Yeah.
And last but not least, Spurs have announced yet another pre-season game on the 17th of July. They said that we are delighted to announce we have been invited to play Hearts of Midlothian in a pre-season match at Tynecastle Stadium as a part of the Edinburgh Club's 150th anniversary celebrations. So that will be our first pre-season unless anything else gets announced. That's Wednesday the 17th of July, 7 p.m. kickoff, which follows a few days later. We play QPR at Loftus Road. Then we go on our tour to Japan, to Korea. We play Vissel Kobe and Bayern Munich, and then ending off with Bayern Munich at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium of the 10th of August.
Jam-packed.
Yeah, it is jam-packed. I just wonder if there's going to be any more in there. I don't know if there's any space for any more, to be honest.
So 20th, 27th.
Because you've got the 17th to the 20th. Unless there's any more before the 17th. Because I remember back in the day, Spurs used to play like loads of like lower league teams, and then like play like a big, like a team at like the Tottenhams or White Hart Lane as it was then. And there used to be a lot more pre-seasons than this, didn't there?
I remember the one. I just remember off the top of the head the one where under One Day Ramos, when we had Darren Bent and Dave Bentley. I remember we played that summer a lot. I'm just trying to remember in recent years if it's been a lot more than that, than this. I don't think it's been too much more.
This is 5 games.
This is 5 games, plus potentially another one in Korea. We'll have to wait and see whether there's going to be another one or not, because there's only one in Korea scheduled at the moment. So that could potentially be 6. I think 6 is a good amount, I would say. It's not. I don't think you want too many more than that.
I got a feeling there could be just one more, like against a lower league team before the Hearts game.
Yeah.
Because they will report back on what, the 1st of July?
Yeah.
If they report back...
depends on Euros and...
Yeah, but I'm saying the squad, regardless of Euros or not, report back on the 1st of July. Obviously, some players come back later. So if you're reporting back on the 1st of July and your first pre-season's on the 17th, there might be, room for just one more before then.
That's true. But I think hopefully, in that period where there's a 3-day gap, obviously I'm sure there'll be a lot of changes in the team, and hopefully we get to see a real good look at some of the under 21 players at that stage, and have them get some serious minutes in a I know it'll only be a friendly, but pre-season everyone's really looking to impress, and that'll be interesting to see if they get some game time there and how they fare.
Because in terms of the players that are going to the Euros and the Copa, I mean, when does that finish? That finishes like mid-July, doesn't it?
I think 14th of July.
Yeah. So if it finishes, if it finishes 14th of July, are they even going to make the tour? Because our first game of the tour is 27th of July.
14th of July. Maybe not Japan, but maybe Korea.
You'd assume they get like 2 weeks off after the tour.
Well, depend. That's only for people who get to the final.
True.
So let's say they go out in the semis would be a few days before. That'd be like 10th of July or 9th of July. So 2 weeks off. I think if you get 2 weeks off of that, that's already the 25th of July. So I think you probably make Korea.
Yeah, you make Japan as well, because that's the 27th of July is our first game. They probably fly out a couple
anyone
of days
who makes
before.
to the final, I don't think is going to Japan.
Yeah.
I still think they probably go to Korea.
Anyway, there you have it. That is your Tottenham update for today. Let me know your comments in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.